Welcome to the Golden Valley Light Railway video platform. This is a stockbook series video. Deutz 10249. Let's take a look around the Deutz locomotive that we have at the GVLR. As you can see, it is a small shunting engine, but what you cannot necessarily tell is the fact that it is over 90 years old. It is from a time when the majority of industrial engines were steam-driven or powered with internal combustion engines fueled with petrol. This loco is considered to be the oldest working diesel in the country, still with its original engine. It sits here today with its engine covers removed, to show off the power plant that has its roots in the earliest days of diesel power. When researching the locomotive, I was surprised to find on the internet an original Deutz sales brochure and a specification pamphlet for a similar locomotive to ours. I have used Google Translate to create these images. I found them on the website of the Feldbahn 500 Museum, a similar railway to ours, but in Germany. I have gained permission, by chatting with one of their volunteers, Michael, on their Facebook page, to display them here. I have put links to their sites in the description of this video. It looks like somewhere I would like to visit. Now, getting back to the loco, I will point out some of the controls. The red handle is for the brakes, it goes over center to stay locked on. This foot pedal, coming from the gearbox, operates the clutch. This is the throttle. To control the engine speed, it has a ratchet and wedge upon a chain, to lock it in position. The red lever coming from the gearbox is the high gear, neutral and low gear selector. The rearmost lever coming from the gearbox is the forwards or reverse selector. The box with the pipes coming down from it is for sand, to apply to the rails to help with grip in slippy conditions. And although not a control, a vital part all the same, this is the starting handle, sitting upon the deck under the seat. Now, resuming the video, I pass over those controls a little closer, upon our way to look at this side of the engine. You can see the gearbox is directly coupled to the engine, via a non-original cone-type clutch, a well-engineered repair from its distant past. Freezing the video again, I will point out some of the features of the engine and its ancillaries. At its front, the engine has a large flywheel that contains a centrifugal governor. The governor acts upon the fuel pump as the speed of the engine increases, via a variable profile cam, which slides axially to the pump. The fuel pump has a mechanical priming lever which is operated during the starting process. We will see it in operation later in the video. The fuel pump is fed through this modern fuel filter that we added to replace the original type. The flow of diesel fuel from the tank into the filter is controlled using this tap. The engine operates a total loss oil system, although it does lubricate the drive chains as it drips away. This is the mechanical oil pump that has individual feeds down to the bearings. The flow can be checked through the sight glass. The oil pump also has a priming handle. Look out for it rotating mechanically when we have the engine running later in the video. And then finally, before we move on from this side of the engine, at the very front you can see the belt-driven radiator cooling fan. You can perhaps see the cooling radiator better from this angle, with its fan bearing upon the brackets above the flywheel. A pipe comes from its bottom to the gear-driven water pump that circulates the coolant around the engine. This pipe coming from the bottom of the exhaust collector directs used engine oil down onto the drive chains. Below that is the air inlet to the crankcase. On the back of the reed valve block, the single-cylinder engine is a crankcase induction 2-stroke diesel. It has a displacement of about 2 liters. And then finally for this side, Coming from the port on the side of the cylinder block, via the collector and silencer, you can see the black exhaust pipe. The last part of the engine that I want to show you is the cylinder head. I will freeze the video again to point out its features. Upon the right-hand side of the head is the decompressor lever with its outlet being the black hole pointing upwards. On the opposite side of the head is the coolant return pipe, going back to the top of the radiator. On the top of the head is the main spray valve assembly. It has the fuel supply and return pipes attached to it and also houses the ignition paper holder. You will see that in more detail during the start-up procedure. As we finish our look at the engine, and before we get it running, let's look into the locomotive's history a bit. These two photos, dated the 12th of September, 1987, from the collection of one of our association members show the loco in the very early days of the GVLR, before Top Shed and Butterley Park Station were constructed. But it had been on site for 4 years prior to these photos being taken. It had first arrived on site on the 21st of May, 1983. As such, the loco's presence predates the narrow gauge project, which didn't begin until 1986. It had been bought from a private owner who had had it in storage after he purchased it at an auction in 1971 from the original owners as their quarries were being shut down. It had originally been purchased by Buttermere Green Slate Quarries Limited for their Hodge Close quarry at Little Langdale, near Coniston, Cumbria in the United Kingdom. I have circled the works and railway tracks in this 1920 Ordnance Survey map that is displayed here with the consent of the National Library of Scotland. The location of the quarry is still clearly visible in this Google Earth image. The deep and flooded workings are still used today for leisure activities. The current private owner who purchased the loco on the 24th of June, 1988 has a number of original documents as part of its history file, as shown here. Notice in green the original owner's company stamp. Here it is enlarged. The big German word at the top translates as parts list, in case you were wondering, and below is obviously locomotive. It is known in the history of the loco that it was sent back to the manufacturers for reconditioning in 1939 and returned to its owners just 1 month before the outbreak of World War II. It is thought that the loco was relegated to standby duty at Langdale Quarry, probably not long after the end of the war. It was sold into private ownership at the quarry closure auction on the 29th of April, 1971. These documents give a full breakdown with illustrations of the locomotive and detail things like the cold starting procedure. Let's join Ed as he is finishing the loco preparations for running. He has already checked engine fluid levels and is now readying the ignition paper holder. He has to add to it a tightly rolled piece of blotting paper that has been soaked in saltpeter. This should help starting a cold engine. He leaves it on top of the cowl ready for lighting. On the other side of the engine he primes the oil pump by winding the handle to give fresh oil to the bearings. He then leans in and tends to the crankcase drain cock to ensure any residual fuel and oil is cleared. Then we can see him topping up the front crank bearing oil cup with an oil can. He shuts its lid back down when it is full. The fuel pump is then hand primed to give pressure. Then the starting handle is turned with the decompressor pushed in to make sure any fuel or oil that may have collected in the crank chambers is blown out through the open drain cocks. It is now time to light the ignition paper and insert its holder back into the cylinder head. You can see it smoldering as Ed carefully insets it down into the cylinder head and screws it firmly back in. Back to the front, with the decompressor pushed in with his left hand, Ed winds the starting handle to spin up the flywheel. He releases the decompressor, but it is too much. It stalls out. The whole process is fully repeated, and it is furiously cranked again. It goes over compression but does not fire.
No. I'm admitting defeat.
With defeat admitted, it is time to employ the more usual method of starting, a tow start from Peter driving NG24. The clutch is released as they start to move and Ed reaches into the engine cowl holding the decompressor open. As they speed up, you can hear it breathing through the open decompressor. Ed shuts the decompressor. No, not that time. He is back on the decompressor. And there it is, third time shutting the decompressor, and it started up. With the gear selector set to neutral, Ed sets the throttle to an idle, locking it in position with the wedge, ensures the brake is set and gets down to decouple NG24. It's loud! I have turned down the volume. Here is the running engine. Notice the oil pump handle being automatically rotated. And then from the other side, with the volume still down, we see Ed depress the clutch, select forwards gear, release the brake and clutch, and set off up towards the head shunt. I'll put the volume back up as he opens her up. Did you notice how harsh a ride the loco has? Especially as it goes over the points. Volume down again so you can hear me. We will just watch Ed take the loco up the head shunt again, at full volume. And then, with the engine shut down, Ed will have another attempt at hand cranking the engine. With the loco part back up, I will slow the video. It is alarming to see just how much it vibrates. With the brakes on, the engine's movement is transmitted right down, making the rails and sleepers move. Can you see just how much it is all moving? As we see the Deutz head back towards the shed, I will bring this video to a close. I hope you have enjoyed it. As you can imagine, to keep these old locomotives running takes a lot of work from our dedicated volunteers. Would you like to help us preserve it and run our railway? Why not become a volunteer with us? Here is a compilation image from our archives, showing the Deutz being worked upon. Details about volunteering with us can be found on our website. I have put a link to it in the description of this video. Further information on the Deutz, plus comprehensive information upon each of the 2 steam locomotives, the 19 diesel and 2 battery electric locomotives, plus the 11 coaches and 34 wagons that currently have a home at the GVLR, can be found in our new stockbook publication. It has 40 pages with 45 full-color quality photos that cover the locomotives plus the notable coaches and wagons. It is available to purchase online via our website. I have put a link to it in the description to this video. That concludes this stockbook series video about the Deutz locomotive 10249 at the Golden Valley Light Railway. Don't forget to like the video by clicking the thumbs up icon, and if you want, leave us a comment and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow.